Greetings traders, this is Houston Trung from thetradingedge.org, and here is your weekly market outlook for May the 4th to the 8th, 2020. And so we enter into the 5th trading month of the year. We've got 4 trading months now down, and I hope you have a good year to date. So the question on everyone's mind going into May is, do we get the sell in May and go away effect? There's of course that old adage on Wall Street that says sell in May and go away, and based upon Friday's selling action, you might think that that the sell in May in effect is in fact playing out. But we'll review the charts in a few moments, and we'll take a look and see if there are any tea leaves there to help us unravel which way the markets are likely to head in the short term. Now, as for the coming week, there isn't a lot on the econ calendar, but this week will certainly be a news-driven week or earnings-driven week because there's a lot of earnings names, so definitely watch out for that. But for the econ calendar, I think the 2 days you want to pay attention to are Thursday. There's, of course, the jobless claims number on Thursday. This past week, we had another 3.8 million jobless claims. So in aggregate over the past 4 weeks now, the past month, we have over 30 million jobless claims just in the past 4 weeks alone. The interesting thing this past week was that this past Thursday, when that 3.8 number came out, I think it was actually revised a bit higher, but in any case, the reaction was actually not that positive. Surprisingly, the last several weeks, as I've been saying, you want to watch the reaction because lately, or up to this past week, the markets have actually rallied on these large unemployment numbers. Now it may be a situation where people are beginning to sell the news now, because this past week they did not rally in this number. It was actually quite a muted response, and so you're beginning to see a bit of a shift now in terms of how the markets are reacting to the news, and that's significant. You want to watch that for that again, because if bad news is being reacted to badly, then that will be a big course correction to how it's been interpreted for the prior 3 weeks, right? So that will be a significant shift in investor sentiment. And of course, on Friday we have that employment situation number, very important one. We want to watch and see how the markets react to that, because prior to this past week, the bad news has been good, right? That means people have been expecting the Fed and the U.S. government to be more accommodative, but now we have businesses starting to reopen, and that doesn't seem to be any better news, right? We might actually see now that that these businesses reopening, they're in for a tough slog ahead. So in terms of the earnings calendar, lots of stuff coming down the pike here, and a lot of names so far have been hesitant to release their guidance going into the rest of the year because of just the uncertain nature of markets and of the economy. So lots of names to watch for. The really big earnings day is Thursday. We have over 424 names reporting, but throughout the week there's going to be a lot of names in play. So again, just watch the earnings calendar and make sure that you're paying attention to the names that you're trading to make sure you're not carrying any risk going into earnings. A very good site that I like to use if you don't have a good one in your bookmarks is I use a combination of StockTwits, has a good earnings calendar, and Earnings Whisperer. So that's Earnings Whispers. So earningswhispers.com. So that's another great site where you can see exactly what time the earnings announcements are going to drop, and of course what the basically guidance is and what the expectation is. So with that being said, let's jump into the charts now. And as we always do, we'll review some of the indices and some of the common instruments that we like to review to see if we can get a broad understanding of where the markets, where they went and perhaps where they're going. So let's start with the VIX chart. What do we know so far about the VIX, right? So April is now in the books, and what did we get left with? An inside month. So forgive the tight chart here, but this kind of tight. If I don't put it in this scale, it looks very, very small, so I want to drop it back in that scale like that. We'll just zoom in like that. So let's focus on the past 3 bars here. Up bar in the month of March, obviously we had that big sell-off, and then April is actually a pretty uneventful month comparatively. It went down minus 18% for the VIX, so VIX did decay a bit there, and right now we're trading inside the prior month's range. Again, just we're just entering into May here, so that's not a surprise. So the question is here, which end of this inside bar are we going to break out of? We're going to go inside bar up, inside bar down. You have that range now. You want to be watching very carefully what side of that range the VIX now breaks. This is going to be the same thing for the indices. This is what we really like here, because now we have a very, very clear understanding of the areas of control, right? So if we break above the prior month's high, the buyers are clearly in control. If we break below the prior month's low, the sellers are clearly in control. And if they stay above or below, that shows that there's commitment around those levels. So right now, inside month, although getting closer to breaking it to the upside, but still, it's anything. It still needs to play out. So you cannot take a, you don't want to take a gamble there. On the weekly chart, we have this. So on the weekly chart, we had a down week. So this is the month of April, right? So here, 1, 2, 3, 4 months, 4 weeks, excuse me. 2 down bars, 1 up bar, 1 down bar. And this past week, we end up with a hammer. So we had a shooting star the prior week and a hammer here. So the question is, what's the next bar, right? So here, we're going to redraw our ranges. This past week, it did break down. And as we said here, if you break below this shooting star, they're going to target that pivot there. That's what they did. So they took out that pivot and the bar stepped up. And then they fought back and they closed it as a hammer. So now we have kind of the mirror opposite picture, correct? So now we'll redraw our ranges. We can take out that pivot high. They're going after that pivot there. Simple as that. The only thing with this situation here, which is not great for VIX buyers, and the opposite for equity sellers, is you still have the quarterly open right here, right? So that purple line or that blue line, that's the quarterly open. So in order for the 3-month chart to basically change green, you actually have to get way above that area. So this has to come, even if it takes out this pivot high here, that will look scary for some people, because if VIX jumps from there to there, that will be, let's see how big our move that would be. Let's draw it in here. From here to there, that'll be a 14.5% move. So that'll be a big move comparatively, well, relatively speaking, but that'll still be a red quarter. So don't again, even if it does do that, you don't want necessarily to miss the forest from the trees, because even if that happens, you're still in the bigger scheme of things, you have not taken out that pivot high here, right? So this will be that intra-bar noise on the quarterly chart that can mess up a lot of people. So again, you want to make sure you understand the bigger picture, so that you have that orientation versus getting scared and flipping back and forth, even though you're trading inside of this sequence here. Okay, so that's your understanding of the VIX on the weekly chart. Now on the daily, this is how it played out. So here's your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? So Monday, gap down, equities are doing great. Look, they filled that gap. So that gap is now done. So on Monday, they filled that gap. Tuesday, they finally filled that gap there. We were wondering how long it was going to take out 37.41. We finally did it on Tuesday. And Wednesday, they actually gapped down again. This is becoming a buy signal here, right? Because here, the high was 37.01, the low there, 36.96. So the sellers were able to bring it back down, with the buyers bought it back, broke it back into the prior bar's high, and there's your kind of buy signal if you want to take it that way. A little bit, it's an aggressive signal because you're going against the time frames, but it works for 1 day. It could work more, but we'll see. So right now we'll move our gaps around now, because now we have unfilled gap right there, and this gap here is now another one right there. Okay, because then we gap up here, so it goes 1 day, 2 day, and that was a good 2-day move there. So that's a good 11% move had you bought that gap fill here. A little aggressive, but that's what's possible if you play it like that. So now the question is, can you break above the prior week's high? That's that level right here, right? So that's basically Friday's high. That's our high of the week. So come Monday, let's see where we open, right? We break above this purple line, that'll break it above the prior week's high, and that will make this pivot in play. Still below the quarterly open. Or you open up somewhere in here and you backfill again and close these gaps. That's what you want to look for on the short-term charts. On the 4-hour chart, the buyers possibly ran out of momentum, so we'll see. It could have been a bear trap for the indices and a bull trap on the VIX chart, because here, right there, this is why I like looking at the 4-hour chart, because it becomes a lot more apparent what happens. Here's your Monday, right? Your gap down. Your Tuesday, outside inside, resolves to the downside. Then they run out of steam. So look, inside bar and down, inside bar. So they try to sell it, right? They try to sell it here. They ran out of steam here. The buyers bought it back to close the day, kind of strong. You know, like the buyers had control of the last 3-4 hours of the trading day, right there, that bar, right? But it was inside this prior bar's range. That's why it's an inside bar. Inside bar up, inside bar up, inside bar. Okay, so here they got a stalemate again. Now, does it do this? Does it gap up again and go inside bar up, or does it break below this low here and come back in to fill this range, to backfill, right? So this is the range that we're talking about, the gap right there that could possibly get backfilled. So close it right there. So let's fix the there we go, our gaps. So that would be an inside bar reversal to the downside, right? Similar to what happened here, inside bar down and pops back up, inside bar reversal takes out that pivot. Okay, so that's what you're expecting here, is if it breaks below here, you come back down here to take out that, at least that pivot, and possibly these pivots down here. So that's what you want to watch now on the 4-hour chart on Monday. Which side of this 4-hour bar do you open? You pop up here, you know, it would possibly come up here and take out that weekly high. Otherwise, we come back down here. That's the area you want to be watching for. Very clear lines here, like very clear scenarios, which way you want to watch when it breaks that that range. Okay, let's talk SPY now. SPY is a pretty clean picture as well. So on the SPY, let's do the bigger time frame stuff, and then we can skip it on the rest of the indices. 3-month chart, outside inside. Okay, so a lot of quarter left, right? So we still got 60 days left in the quarter. So this, you know, it could stay inside bar for all we know. For the next 60 days, we could just chop around inside this range. So long as you not break outside of these prior highs or lows, you're going to be inside bar. Now that could be enough to make some money. If it's, you know, if intraday is volatile enough, then it's great for day traders. Not great for investors who are looking for buy and hold moves if it just chops it sideways. That's what could happen when you have an inside bar situation. It's very important to understand trading inside bars, and I'll talk more about that in a few moments here, because you want to have proper expectations when you're trading inside bars and what the possibilities are of when you're trading an inside bar, so you have an understanding of the possible outcomes. So for now, we still got Momo down on the monthly chart. Outside bar down, that's Momo down. Inside bar, and now inside bar again. So that's the first, you know, we only had one trading day in May so far, so that's an inside month. We got a lot of month left, obviously. So now, question is, which way do you break in terms of this range? So we're going to redraw our ranges now. That was an inside month last month. We're getting close to breaking the high of that. If we can break above, right, April's highs, we can then revisit these pivots possibly. Okay, so that's the possibility there. So that's what you want to be looking for, is can you break above the prior month's high, or if you break way down here, that orange line, you're gonna go, it's gonna be the continuation of the Momo down sequence. That'll just be an inside bar and down if that happens. You're still really far away though, that's the thing, right? So here's your quarterly open. You gotta go all the way down here to break back below the quarterly open. That's why I'm saying it's a little difficult to do. You have to have a 12% move to make the quarter red again, and then you have to break below this bar there. You have to have a 13 and 3/4 move to break below that inside bar to cause the inside bar and down. So that would be very, very bearish. You'd have to see some really, you know, negative news come out. But if you do see that, if that happens, you start getting down here, then that's going to start getting ugly. Thing is that you have the Bollinger Band right there, so it's very, you know, people are buying, right? The people are buying in these levels still. So it's possible that, you know, when you see a Bollinger Band test like this at the bottom, it's very common for it to go all the way across to the other side again, like what we had here. You had a Bollinger Band test there, and it came back out and touched the other side of that Bollinger Band. It happens all the time, right? Like you can see this is the monthly chart, by the way, right? So you have a Bollinger Band test at the bottom. It's very likely it comes back up to the other side again. So you know you can do your homework on that. But once the bottom gets, once the bottom is in, you typically get to the other side of that Bollinger Band. Once the bottom is in, doesn't mean, you know, look, this looked like the bottom was in here, but clearly it wasn't. So that's what you have to pay attention to, is you just can't say, okay, it hit the bottom of the Bollinger Band, it's going to go on the other side and make your bets. That doesn't always play out like that, because you can see it, right? You know, I'll give you this example here. The price action tells you that you can get a reversal. Once this thing breaks below, see the inside bar, it pops up, inside bar and up. But once it breaks back below there, it's come back in again, taking out that low. That's going to be the immediate pivot. So that's the understanding, you know, is that you just can't blindly make trading decisions just on looking at the tops and bottoms of Bollinger Bands. Those are just there to help inform you of where price falls in that range. So for now though, you know, price, in order to go back below here again, it has to break below this Bollinger Band. No, but sorry, break below this prior month's low. which I said already is over 13% away. So it's, you know, it's not impossible, but it's a less likely scenario. Okay, so in terms of the weekly chart, so recall April was an inside month. Let's talk about that inside bar condition. Should we talk about it now? Let's wait till we show another chart. I'll save that conversation for just for a few moments. So let's do the weekly analysis here. So Momo up still on the weekly chart, right? Outside bar up, up, up. Inside bar up. So you can see here we have not had a lower low now since this went way back here. I'm gonna move this little thing out of the way. Since the second week of March, the third week of March, right, when price bottomed here, right on that broad information, right? So now we've gone Momo up, and we had a bit of a, you know, an explosive pattern to the upside here on this past week as it went inside bar up. But look where it found resistance. See, so it hit that purple line, and that purple line is the 50 period moving average. So it went inside bar up, hit resistance right there. That also coincides with this daily chart right here, that black line, the 200-day moving average. So price found resistance at both the 200-day and the 200-day moving average and the 50-week moving average. So right now it's telling you that we found some resistance here now, and at this point you're trading below. So the week's closed now, right? You got the monthly open, that orange line. On Monday you want to watch on what side of that orange line do you trade on, right? So I want to delete some of these lines here because we did a gap fill. So this Monday here, right, we did inside weekend up. That allowed us to fill this gap here. We still have a gap right there. I thought we might be able to get that filled, but they ran out of steam here when it hit that 200-day. So there is your, you know, that high in there is your high of the month, right? So that orange line right there, that's the high of April. So if price can somehow break above here and come back up, then you're gonna, you know, take out that monthly high, and that'll create an inside month and up situation that would cause the markets to rally even more. So was it a bear trap this past week? We will know very shortly on Monday. So just to go back here now, the only thing you do want to watch out for is that we do have the situation here, an inside bar up. And you see this on a lot of charts, and I'll show you a few later on. But you have an inside weekend up situation, but they came back in the range. It was a failed breakout, right? So right now, you know, they broke back below the prior week's high, and they came back in the range. If the sellers can break below this past week's low, inside bar reversal, right? So there, inside bar reversal sell, and that would put this pivot in play there from April the 20th. So looking at the daily chart, it looks like that. So it's pretty tight, right? So it's a pretty tight sequence here. So now you either break above this high here, and that would cause the monthly signal to get triggered, or you break below this past Friday's low right there, and that will cause the weekly signal trigger. So you have very, very clear areas to be watching here. It doesn't get much cleaner than this, as I mentioned earlier. It's very clear. So we'll know exactly who's in control. If you break above this high here, if you break below this low there, we'll know the sellers are in control. The sellers don't have it all easy though, because as I said already, there's your quarterly open, very, very far away. So they may get, you know, you may see some selling pressure here, but at the end of the day, you still have buyers who still see a green quarter, and that will embolden people to buy the dip. So you know, until this thing breaks down further, you're gonna find dip buyers here who are probably gonna, you know, try buying these dips as a SPY if the SPY heads lower. So expect buyers to step up if it breaks down. Then it's not going to go free fall. People will try to support it, and that, you know, we have not been burnt enough yet to not buy dips. So there'll still be dip buyers out there. So that's what you got in the SPY. So very, very clear chart there. Q, very similar picture. I'm not going to go through all the lower level time frame stuff. It is an outside inside on the quarter. Here's interesting here what we did on the Qs though. Q is very strong. So obviously all the indices, tech against the world, and tech is winning right now. Tech is clearly the strongest sector out there. For tech names, some of them, you know, have hit all-time highs. Now look at the Qs. This is significant. Outside bar and down, right? That's Momo down. It actually extinguished that Momo down condition this past month. That high is higher than March's high. So basically, it wiped out pretty much all of March's losses. So very, very strong move there by Qs in the month of April, plus 15%. We came back in the range a bit here now, but this high did get taken out, right? So there, that high did get taken out of April. If we can climb back up there, we're back to all-time highs. You know, we were not far away at all. Like, you know, earlier in the week, we were very close, let's see, less than 9% away from going back to those all-time highs. Now, at the close of the week, because we had a bit of selling to close the week, we are closer to 11.6% away. So, still not that far away from those all-time highs. So wait and see now, what that range is going to be, how it breaks that. So the Qs have the same thing as the SPY. So you're going to redraw the ranges, the exact same scenario basically, right? You want to see on what side of this range price breaks. So if it breaks below here, there's your inside bar reversal. They're going after that pivot there, but still very strong because you're way above the quarterly open. Expect dip buyers to step in at some point to try to test it, right? To try to pick that bottom. So for now, on the daily chart here, you expect some selling still because it went outside bar up, so Momo up on the Qs on the daily chart. And don't forget, it's Momo up on the weekly chart as well. Look, Momo up, outside bar up, inside up, right? So no lower lows. But here now you have a Momo situation that actually failed. Momo up, broke above the prior highs, broke below that Momo, broke the Momo and broke below that low there. Okay, so we had a new month, and all of a sudden the new month starts off red. All right, so this now you expect sellers to step up and take out that low at the very least. If they can't do that, then the buyers are very, very strong. So if all of a sudden on Monday they break above this bar's high, let's say they break down and come back up again, then the buyers are very, very strong. That's just the buyers are supporting this and they're buying that dip. So that's what you want to watch for. Otherwise, if it breaks below this line here and causes the inspire reversal on the weekly signal, we can see some more selling here. But again, we still expect buyers to step up at some point. You're trading above the 20. This is the 8 period, right? So it did finally close below the 8. That happened, so that happened back here too. But they quickly bought it back up. But now there's the 20s right there. So we're starting to trend here now, as you can see by the moving averages. People like to watch that. So if we break, they may test the 20, but are they going to break below it? Because we have had a break below the 20 since this point here. We actually broke above it the beginning of April. Okay, so does this trend hold right now? Okay, so there is your Qs. And just on the forward chart, this is what it looks like. You do want to just watch this last thing here. Possible inside bar reversal. Possible. Not saying it's there yet, but here, outside, inside. Resolve to the downside, inside. If bars step up here and break back above here on Monday, so the bars step up, they break above this bar's high, we're going to have that pivot again, and that will turn the month back green. So as soon as they break it above this orange line, it's a green month again, and we can just go right back up to the tops, right back to the highs here, and fill this gap and go higher. That will cause us to get back above April's highs. So that's very clear. Dow now, DIA. Pretty much the same, bigger picture on the quarterly chart. It's also an outside inside. And go outside inside, sorry, outside down inside bar. So there's your inside bar now for the Dow. So it is an inside month for the month of April. How do you break that range? Just like the SPY. Okay, the Dow a little bit different. So this is what you want to understand now when it comes to inside bar trading. So this is an inside bar, all right? So the month of April was an inside bar. This is what you can often expect for inside bars. So let's just draw so you understand the ranges here. So the range of last month was this. So the reason why it was an inside month last month was because this month, April, was inside of March's bar, right? So that by definition is an inside month, meaning you cannot, if you cannot break above or below the prior month's highs or prior bar's highs, that's going to keep it inside month. Okay, so inside month can play out in several ways. So here's an example. Here's the month of April. First 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks, right? Here it goes up, 2 bars up, 1 bar down, 1 bar back up again. That's chop, right? So it's not a lot of chop because you had you had a month, you had a week here where it was a big range, but these past 2 weeks was relatively choppy because you had price take out the prior bar's low, and then you had price take out the prior bar's high, but come back in the range. So it wasn't a tight trading month because the range now. The range is very, very wide. So even though it was an inside month, because you had such a wide possible range, then there's still there were still lots of opportunities there. Sometimes you have inside bars that are very, very tight, and you actually have the bars nearly overlapping one another, and then you still get this. What I'm trying to explain is you're still getting this sequence of chop, meaning you get a bar that breaks above, a bar that breaks below, above, below, a bar, in this case we only have 4 weeks in every month. So this is the type of action you can actually expect, where unless the bar unless it just keeps going, meaning you have 4 higher highs in a row and 4 higher lows in a row, that would be you know, a move that would be free of chop, but yet you're still, unless you break above this high here, it would still be in the range. That would still be an inside month. This is a very common scenario where you do not get 4 higher highs in a row or 4 higher lows in a row, but instead you get, you know, a down move that takes out one side of the range, and up move that takes out another side of the range. That's a very, very common scenario as well, and you just have to understand that this is a possibility so you don't get chopped up, meaning, you know, you have the understanding that this is what price can do in an inside month situation, and that you don't get surprised when price breaks below that low and you don't get overly aggressive to the short side. Because the last thing you want to do is that if you understand that here's where the rubber meets the road. If you understand you're trading inside month, right, and you see that price could break below a prior bar's low and that doesn't change necessarily the trend, you will not be aggressively short when it breaks below that low, right? You will not be surprised if it comes back up again and breaks out the other side. And you won't be surprised that you stay within the prior bar's range. So here's what people often do. They get chopped up on both sides of the range, right? So they get aggressive short as it breaks down here, and they get aggressive long as it gets back up here, and now they're back in the middle on losing ends on both sides of that range, because they don't understand they're trading inside month and that this, or inside bar, and this is a very possible scenario. So it's very easy to explain it when looking at a monthly chart because there's only 4 weeks in a month. But I encourage you to look at the same thing, let's say like on a 5-minute chart. You can look at a 5-minute inside bar. Now look at the 1-minute chart and look at those 5 bars that comprise that 5-minute bar. What are the possible scenarios that play out in that 5-minute bar? You'll see it's a lot like what we explained here. So certain times you'll have 5 bars that move up in a row, right? But they'll still be inside the prior bar's range, which causes it to be an inside bar. Sometimes you'll have 4 in a row, 5 in a row to the downside, but still within the range. Lots of times you'll have this, up, down, right? But it's inside the range, causing it to be an inside bar, choppy situation. That's a situation you need to watch out for, because that's what kills most traders most of the time, because they have unrealistic expectations around how to manage those trades or when they're inside that range. So, you know, that's food for thought. You know, I went a little longer than I wanted to on that example there, but hopefully you begin to do your own work in terms of understanding range trading and what happens when you trade inside bar. Okay, so let's get back to the analysis. So you got the shooting star on the weekly chart. That's you know, you contrast that with the weekly hammer the week before that. So once again, we'll redraw our ranges. We break below this week's low. Now on the daily chart, that gives us this situation, right? So here, a bunch of bars up and down. So it went up, went down, 3 bars, 2 bars in a row. Once you break below there, it's come back down, and now you're trading red month so far. On the 4-hour chart, here we go. Possible. On the 4-hour chart, let's take a look here. Yeah, inside bar down. Yeah, all I need to do is break below this low here, and that will cause the weekly signal to trigger to the downside. Okay, but once again, you're still far away from that quarterly open, so it's really hard to get overly bearish, because you have to have that expectation. Because once again, here's your weekly. You're inside month right now, right? It would not be surprising to see if so long as it's the inside month, if price doesn't do a straight shot from here down to there, to find buyers step back up and causing a reversal back to the upside again, just to stay within the range. Okay, so watch for that from the Dow. Russell, slightly different picture on the Russell. On the Russell, we have this. On the Russell, we have a little different situation. We did not have that Momo down on the monthly chart, so we right now have a red month followed by an inside month there for the month of April. On the weekly chart, we have an inside bar up situation, and we had a big test there, right? So it ran up and then it came right back in again. And so here now, possible inside bar reversal to the downside. Right there, there's your quarterly open down here. So this may be an interesting signal to the short here. Again, be careful, because you're still way above that quarterly open. There'll still be buyers out there testing the dips. Okay, so there's your Russell chart, and here's a good example of the Bollinger Band walk. We talked a bit about it earlier, but here it is. So it goes up. As soon as you break below that low there, right, that ends the Bollinger Band walk. So break below here, and now it comes back in and fills that, and backfills. Took everyone out, right? So anyone who bought here and bought up Once that broke below that low there, because once you break below that bar, that extinguishes the Bollinger Band walk, and they come right after all the folks who went long earlier in the week. So everyone who had their stops anywhere in the vicinity got stopped out, and that was kind of a failed breakout on the Russell. But that breakout will not be negated completely until this low gets taken out. So Friday's low, if that gets taken out, that will basically wipe out that buy signal that we saw on the weekly chart here when I went inside weekend up. Let's talk TSX now. TSX, what do we see? It's very, very similar picture. This looks nearly identical to the Dow. Outside bar, so Momo and down, inside month for the month of April. So we'll redraw our ranges there. How do you break outside of that range? That's a really big range still. Could be range bound trading here for the month of May. Weekly chart, left with a bit of a shooting star as well. So we'll just redraw our ranges. We'll watch that and see how price reacts to those levels. And basically the same kind of price action. Okay, so we had several up bars, and then once that low got taken out, right back to the downside again, but kept the weak green. So TSX a little stronger than the Dow. Okay, let's talk about emerging markets. Emerging markets, Momo down, still not extinguished yet. So Momo down, emerging markets, and now price below that broadening formation. So, like we did already, how and what relation do we trade around those levels? All right, so can we get outside of April's price action, or do we stay inside month, excuse me? Okay, week though for the emerging markets ETF. You can see there, big red bar, right? So that's the kind of trading, tight stuff, right? So 2 up bars, a down bar, up bar, but still inside of the prior month's range, causing it to be inside month. Okay, so do we break below this low here now? Watch for that. The 2-day chart on the EM is pretty illustrative. Outside bar up, that's Momo, right? Once it broke below that low there, that breaks us back below the broadening formation. So that broadening formation is right there. As you can see, that dark purple, dark red line. And if we break below that low, we're going after that pivot right there. Did they get them? Let's see here. The low here is 35.25, and the low here is 35.20. Yeah, so they got them. So they did what they needed to do. That is, they took out that pivot low. As soon as that low here gets taken out, they're going after that low there, and they took them out by the end of the week. So nice job by the sellers there. Still trading above the quarterly open, but now you have some time frame conflict, right? Because now you have, the monthly red, you had the week red here, but then you have the quarter green. So I expect the dip buyers to step in at some point. It'd be very surprising if they did not do that, and they let the sellers just basically overwhelm them. But now let's wait and see. Okay, so let's take a look at bonds now. Bonds, what's the risk environment? So bonds are now doing something interesting. We actually have an outside-inside pulling out right at the top end of that Bollinger Band. So it'd be very unusual. Well, not unusual, but I think it's more difficult for the bonds, to break up to the upside, and follow through. So that would be a tougher signal because you're going right into highs. So if folks are doing that, that'd probably be a failed breakout. If it does go outside, inside, and up, if it does do that, it'll likely react. They'll probably come to, if that happens, it'll probably pop up. It'll probably come back in again to stop out anyone who's chasing up here, because that is chasing right into highs. You haven't stopped out enough people yet to allow that to happen. It'd be better for this thing to transition in here before it does another attempt to the upside. That said, if there's something very, very catastrophic that comes out, then people may rush back into bonds, and they could stay above this Bollinger Band level for some time. So you do have to be prepared for that. You do need to watch for that, underlying narrative to see what's catapulting price to break above this high, if it does, and to keep it higher. Okay, so inside bar for the month of April. Now, which side of that range do you break out of? Because that's a tight month. That's a 1% month, right, for bonds. So now, which side of that range do you break out of there? On the weekly signal, you did have a reversal, right? So it goes outside bar up, momentum, runs out of steam. So this, past week, they break below this prior bar's low. Now you expect it to come out of there. Okay, so now we draw our range here. But this is the immediate pivot they're going after there. So if they keep going through there, that's going to trigger the monthly signal to the downside, right? That'll be the inside month and down. So right now, they're already heading that way, inside month and down, trading with full time frame alignment with the downside. There's your quarterly open, right? So this for bonds, you'd have a bias on to the downside on bonds right now because of that factor. That line there, you're trading below the monthly open and the quarterly open, and depending where we open on the week here, you may have full time frame value of the downside on bonds. So that would be the better bias at this point. So watch for that on the TLT, and on the 2-day chart, you got the Momo down. So then I've got the Momo down on the 2-day chart. Outside bar down, and this bar is lower than that bar, so it's another down move there. So long as this thing keeps going down, you don't break above a high, you got the Momo down situation on the daily chart. On the 2-day chart, yeah, the 2-day chart here, you're gonna know. So it goes inside bar down. If you're a seller, you don't want to see that high get taken out, because that will turn to an inside bar reversal back to the upside again. But so long as that high doesn't get taken out, this prior two bars high, you know, you want to keep seeing if this inside bar down move continues to play out, because it would not take much now for that low to get taken out, and that would trigger the possibly the inside month to the downside. Okay, let's talk about gold. How did gold do? Last week I was watching for gold. I was showing that one potential scenario that, you know, if gold could break above a certain level, that could trigger it to go up to the upside. But this week gold didn't do much. Actually, you know, it did not trigger that signal that I mentioned last week, and basically gold's in a holding pattern here. So on the bigger term picture, gold still has that Momo up situation. So let me turn off this log scale for a second. Look, Momo up, outside bar up, 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 right? So the quarterly chart, it's up. Monthly chart, Momo up as well. So outside bar up on the Momo chart so far, inside month. On the week, inside week. So tight action. Okay, so still inside the prior week's range. Now we have a higher opportunity or higher chance of breaking the ranges. Okay, so that was an inside week for MGC. And so the inside week looked like this, right? So down, so down, up, down, down, but not wide enough to break outside the prior week's range. So now what's the next move? Well, you want to see how it can break the purple lines. That would be the range, right? So MGC last week, we were looking at this 8-hour bar. I believe it was the 8-hour bar. Let's take a quick look here. Sorry, I think last week we were looking at the 6-hour, and I was looking at, where were we here? Yeah, right here. So we were looking at this situation here because we were wanting to see if we could break above the prior week's high, and this is the level we were watching right there, right? So can we get an outside bar, inside bar, and up? On Monday or Sunday night, it did not happen, right? It went outside, inside, and it resolved to the downside. And that's how it played out. So there wasn't the opportunity to get long there and cause this break to the upside. So that would have been interesting had that played out that way, but it actually did the opposite and then floating downwards. But again, it's inside week, so not a big range. Now, on the 8-hour chart, this is what looks interesting here, is now you had this momentum to the downside that was there for Thursdays. This is Wednesdays and Thursday session. Wednesday session, so outside bar down, Momo down, and they fought back here on Friday, Momo up. So that's how they closed the week with the green month. So now you got the Momo up now playing out on the 8-hour chart. So now watch this and see how far can this Momo take things on the gold chart, with the understanding that that purple line there, you have to get all the way back up there before you can break that inside week situation. Now, if it breaks below here, and there's your inside week to the downside, right? So very, very attractive signal here now. If you break below this low here, they're going after that pivot, and they're causing gold to break to the downside on the weekly chart. So you definitely want to be watching for that level right there. Okay, so that I'm going to draw it in blue right here. If that low gets taken out there, you want to see can it break above or that high there. That's what you want to watch for. Does it go Momo up and keep going Momo up, or does it break below here? Come for that pivot there, and that triggers the weekly inside bar down. It'd be a very, very nice situation there. Either way, we want to watch that. How about Bitcoin? So man, cryptos are really on fire this past week. They're kind of decoupling a bit now from equities. For a while there, they were trading with high correlation equities. If the indices would go down, then Bitcoin would go down. But this past week, the cryptos are actually trading on their own, and they did not have the high correlations. They're actually going up and staying up. So right now, Bitcoin, we finally had that up move, the continuation, and I got aggressively long a bunch of coins last week. So let's talk about Bitcoin first. So right now, 3-month chart on Bitcoin, outside, inside. Can you break outside that range? That's the question. Big range, right? So how do you get outside that prior range from Q1? Monthly, so here we have a reversal that happened last at the end of the month. So Bitcoin did break above the prior month's high. So March's highs got taken out in April. See that move there? Took it out. So that's a reversal back to the upside again. So there's your chop, right? Down, up, and then we're going back up again. But that kind of reversal is what you can expect when you're trading inside bar. Remember, we're trading inside quarter. So there is your reversal of the upside right now. New month, only a couple of trading days inside month. Weekly chart. So recall, right? It's fairly tight stuff. So here, inside week and up. Had a reversal here, down, back up again, and we had a big move this past week, up 15+% for Bitcoin there. It's a nice move. And on the daily chart, this is Saturday as I'm recording this. We have 2 inside bars, so currently consolidating. We did break above 9,000 for a short while of Bitcoin, but came back in again. So the question now is, do we keep climbing up or not, or do we break below this inside bar low here, and that causes the reversal to the downside, and that would be inside bar to the downside, and that could break the month and turn it back red again. But I got very, very aggressive, a bunch of coins last week. I took this screenshot, I think, 3-4 days ago. So I was long 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I was long 15 coins at one point. So very aggressively long. A lot of coins. You can see that 3 days ago I was up significantly. A lot of these coins, and they're up even higher now. So that's the nice thing with the cryptos, is that when they move, they all move, and they move in correlations. So you can make some very, very nice bets on the crypto front. I'll give you one example of a trade I took I think it was just yesterday, 2 days ago. I took a trade on ETC USD. I don't often share my trades here, but this one here is an interesting one. I'll show my ETC trade on Bitfinex if I can find that coin here. ETC USD, here it is. So the bigger picture, inside month up now on Ethereum Classic. The weekly chart, we had a lower low here the week of the 13th, but it did a reversal there. And then the question was, you have an inside day here. And so what we're trying to do with this trade here was trying to trigger the inside month to the upside. Okay, so it's an inside month, you know that, and you're looking to create an inside month and up now. So we had a very nice setup here. So the inside month, the high is right there, that orange line. The high is at 698. Okay, on the 12-hour chart, this is the setup. Very, very clean. So the blue line, I'll just point it out. This blue line, I'll redraw this guy. Let's redraw the blue line here. Let's put that in blue. Is the high of that inside day. So you have a lot of, only show this blue line on the daily and weeklies. So you have an inside day, inside month, and you're going into the 12-hour chart. And so here's the understanding. So you're trying to take out that high right there. That orange line is the monthly high. What's going to allow you to do that? The nice thing with price is that it rallied right into the close of the month. So that's the high. This is basically the high of the month. We get a new month right here. It goes outside inside to close the month of April. This is your first trading day of the month. So if price can go up above here, it's immediately going to trigger that pivot, which will cause the inside month to trigger, attracting more buyers. So that's the beauty. Once you understand time frame analysis, is that each time frame has its own set of buyers and sellers. And so when you're triggering signals across higher time frames or other time frames, you're attracting more buyers or sellers. So in this case here, the understanding is that if it breaks above that high, you will naturally attract more buyers who will then support this price move. And so that's what we got there. So very simple trade, outside, inside, and up on the ETC chart above that 12-hour, on that 12-hour, and that allows us to get, I'm going to just fix this. Oops. And so that allows us to create a very, very tight reward to risk situation where you have your stop below that inside bar, and as soon as this thing breaks, you know you're going to trigger the monthly signal and a nice 2-hour move so far on the ETC chart with potentially more up to the upside, because that also triggers the daily chart, right? So the daily also went inside bar and up. So not only did that signal there, if it works, will cause the daily chart to go up, but it also causes the monthly chart to go inside bar up. So that's your confluence of signals that allows this allows this trade to work out so nicely. So ETC chart still long ETC. Let's see how far it takes us. So that's wrap things up now with a few higher level charts, and then I'll do a quick fast fire around some of the stars and dogs. Let's first focus on a few weekly charts. So this week, I think what's important, we had last week I shared with you a few charts that all looked very similar. They all looked like this. They all had double inside weeks, and the question was, which way were they going to resolve? A lot of these charts were double inside because they had earnings coming up. So you had SVIX that went double inside and up. You had CCL that had double. Actually, this went triple inside, right? Triple inside week and up. You had C, double inside bar and up. You had letter X, all double inside and up. So the question here now is very clear. Does this move? Some of them look like failed breakouts, right? Look at SVIX. It broke out inside, and up, but it came back in the range again. It's very, very clear to watch now. Is you do not want to see, if you're a buyer, you do not want to see this past week's lows get taken out. If you see this week's lows get taken out on Stitch Fix or CCL, right? You see all those levels there. So CCL is a nice breakout so far, still trading above there. Letter C, all right? If you see this week break below, this coming week break below this week's range, this prior week's lows, then that will be a failed breakout, and you can expect more selling to appear. So that's what you want to watch out for. So you have lots of charts that had inside weeks and up. You do not want to see these inside bar reversals cause these things to go negative. So on the bigger picture, let's talk about the monthly chart now. Let's throw a few names out there. You got TWOU, TWOU. Okay, outside inside on the month. So let's see how that thing, it broke to the upside, right? Came back on the range, but if this breaks it back above April's highs again, we can go and take out March's highs. TLT, interestingly enough, I showed that one already, right? We got your outside inside. We want to see how that plays out. Ring Central, good potential name here. Outside inside, big range though. How do you break outside of that? Most likely you don't, or you break below the low there. GDS, software name, a nice tight pattern. Something's coiling here, and it's gonna pop. Likely, when's earnings? Yeah, already had earnings. So at some point, we want to see how this thing resolves. This very, very clear pattern. Okay. Apron. So here's a nice one. Already triggered the downside. More downside possible here. Apron, outside, inside, and down now. You're expecting that low to get taken out. All-time lows. And Alarm Force, ALRM, Alarm Holdings, outside inside, had earnings already. So now which way does it break in terms of this outside inside pattern? Let's talk about stars and dogs just to wrap things up here now. So let's talk stars and dogs. Showed one already. Apron, wow, what a dog. This thing started to really give up its gains here. So Apron losing quickly, and this trend changed aggressively. CHK, man, CHK cannot get out of its own way. Had a huge pop because it did a reverse split. But the past few days have not been kind of CHK. They basically gave up all these gains. Again, CHK rallied from the bottom here to there. It rallied 237%, right? It looks like they gave it all up here the past 5 trading days. Letter Cron, C-R-O-N, marijuana name. Kronos, very weak. Okay, so very, very weak stuff here. Not a great name. If you look at the weekly chart, that's an outside bar. Big outside bar. Took out the prior week's ranges. And anyone who got long Cron, the past several weeks, they all got stopped out. So there goes Cron. Amazon, right? So that was a surprising one after earnings. Well, it wasn't quite surprising because Amazon had been so strong going into earnings. But there's your move, right? So right before earnings, this is what's oftentimes happens, is that when you get a very, very strong rally going into earnings, then oftentimes you'll sell off because it's just priced to perfection at that point, and what else can you do? So Amazon, came out, was Bezos obviously had said times are difficult, so we got a down move, a big 7% move now on Amazon on Friday, creating the outside week. See these two bars? That range is bigger than the prior week's ranges. That creates the outside week on Amazon. So you now have inside outside on Amazon. Walmart. So a lot of these former beneficiaries of the coronavirus, they're starting to weaken now. So Walmart, we actually had basically 4 aggressively strong selling days before buyers stepped up there on Friday to buy that 50-day EMEA. But here in Walmart, we did get the reversal, right? So it broke below the prior week's lows, and it came back through there and took out this week's low, right? So that's what that's what was in play there, and they took it out and then they bought it back again. So Walmart, they're taking profits or they're selling it off now. Another name, some of the high flyers from the early coronavirus cycle was Zoom, right? So they continue to we hit some highs back in the 24th, but since then we had some strong selling days on Zoom. Same thing TDoc. So TDoc also gave up the gains there, now getting close to breaking below that quarterly open. Some of the stars, home builders. So guys like Lennar, good run over the past couple of good month or so. So hits the 200-day moving average though, right? So that thing held. And so what happens here? PHM, Polyhome, same picture. Strong several weeks. Caesars. So I think people are hopeful that that these companies can reopen again. So Caesars Entertainment had a good strong run. Same thing with Wynn. So they're hoping that casinos can reopen. Energy names have bounced. So I'll just share a couple, but Noble Energy, it bounced for it did come back in here on Thursday, Friday, but he had a good strong move going into the first half of the week. Suncor, another strong name, except for the latter half, we did break down a bit. And one file name, SAIL, SAIL, continued strength in this one here. Not a big mover, but this trend is still developing, and you can expect this thing to move higher if buyers continue to hold up on the indices. All right, well that takes us to the end of this week's video. Once again, I want to thank you for spending time with me each and every week. If you like the videos, please give it a big thumbs up. Or if you want to see when the videos drop, you can subscribe to the videos either on YouTube by clicking on the big subscribe button, or you can head over to the blog site, thetradingedge.org. Subscribe to the newsletter there. Each week, each Sunday, I send out a small newsletter with the video, as well as some other trading perspectives, some things that I'm watching, and other curious things that are on my mind. As always, if you have any questions, you can either leave the comments in the YouTube section, the comment section on YouTube, or on the blog site. I always try to respond to any questions that are posted there. I want to wish you a great trading week and happy trading. We'll talk to you next weekend. All the best.